One of these camps was held on Loch Fyne, near Inverary in Scotland. The cadets were members of the Cambridgeshire and Isle of Ely battalions, and they were accompanied by detachments of the Junior Training Corps and the Girls Training Corps. For many cadets, camp is their annual holiday. This is Mitchell. He works in a bank, but in the Army Cadet Force he's a sergeant. Cooper is a mechanic in a big garage. He's a lance corporal in his town cadet battalion. His employer always arranges his holiday to coincide with the camp. If it weren't for the help given by employers, there wouldn't be many cadet camps. And Dry, Private Dry. He works on a farm on the edge of the fenland. He works long hours, especially at harvest, but he can find time to be a cadet as well. About 1,500 boys went to the camp, and 5 special trains took them up to Scotland. After an 18-hour journey, they arrived at Dalmally, where the commanding officer ordered the bugler to sound a G. That's the order to detrain. It didn't take the cadets long to get across to the lorries, which were waiting to take them to Inverary. One tip worth knowing is not to be first into the lorries. If you're at the back, you can get a good view of the scenery. Morning parade really got the camp going. The commanding officer, who in turn handed over to the padre. Cadets follow the old custom of starting the day with prayers. Later in the day, there was PT, with instruction on the scrambling nets. Mitchell was one who had a shot at them. It's exactly the same equipment as used for going up the side of a ship. The death slide took a bit of determination, but it was very popular. The NAFI was even more popular. Mitchell can throw a pretty dart when he wants to. When he wants to.
Break gives you a chance to write a letter home. We're having a good time here. I'm enjoying everything. Even the lectures aren't too bad. The officers certainly know their stuff. And when the weather's fine, we sit out of doors, which is a nice change from sitting at a desk. We get put through it a bit on the square. But our cadet RSM's a good sort, really. Anyway, I know one thing. Our battalion's the best.
He's about right, too. These lads are smart. Every day brought something new. For instance, a visit to a tank landing craft. Some of the Cambridge Girls Training Corps came too. The cadets saluted the quarterdeck smartly when they came aboard and went all over the ship. They heard about the part it had played in the landings at Sicily and Salerno. And they got a few tips in navigation. By the time they disembarked, they'd got a pretty good idea of the part played by the Royal Navy in landing troops and how the services cooperate. Having been on the water, Mitchell thought he might as well go for a swim too, and persuaded Cooper to go with him. A good many others followed that example. Dry enjoyed himself, but Cooper had never swum before, so he thought it was time to take a lesson. At Another sort of lesson was on the range. This battalion was being coached for the shooting trophy, and the officer gave them a thorough grounding. Some quite good shooting was registered. Fieldcraft was Private Dry's favourite subject.
Working on a farm like I do, I reckon to know something about fieldcraft, but I learned one or two new tips. One of the things we had to do was the leopard crawl. We had to get into position for attack on a farm building. It was pretty tough going. Another interesting thing was an exercise in camouflage. We were taught how to conceal ourselves, and I bet none of you can tell where I am. It's queer you just disappear from sight if you blacken your face and blend with the background. We had map reading too, and learned how to use a compass. Just the right country for this sort of work. Some of us was taught how to send wireless messages and tape them. We used walkie-talkie sets just like our chaps did in Normandy. But the best part of the day was out on the moor, and doesn't it give you appetite? The moor was as dry as a tinder, and we had to be careful about stamping out the fires afterwards.
On Sunday, after church parade, there was a march past. All 5 battalions were there, and they made an impressive show. Another day, the boys got a different kind of lesson in fieldcraft. They went out deer stalking with Mr. Cameron, the Duke of Argyle's head stalker. When they'd got near enough, he pointed out a deer to them. Deer stalking is one of the most arduous sports in the world, and a lot of new lessons can be learned from it in the way of fieldcraft. Another trip that was made was on an infantry landing craft on the loch, and Cooper had a go at the steering. At the end of the trip, the Navy ran a craft ashore to give the boys an idea of what a landing feels like. The officers kept themselves fit by PT. Even more strenuous were the boxing bouts put up by the cadets themselves. this 70-year-old home guardsman wasn't going to be left at home in Ely, so he came up to Scotland too and put the cadets through their paces. A bit of blindfold boxing, good exercise, not half so dangerous as it looks. In the evening, the cadets were free to roam where they liked. It's good to get away for a while to the quiet beauty of the lochside. And so another day came to an end. And here, in a quiet corner of the camp, there was an evening service which any boy could attend if he liked. The officers worked hard in camp, and any rest they got was well earned. Some of them liked to read their paper, and the next chaps as well. There was lots to do outside the camp itself. If you kept your eyes open, you might be in time to help hook a salmon. Or you might come across some artist painting. One of the colonels was an archaeologist, and he took his boys over to visit Dunderave Castle, a famous 17th century building with many historical associations. The owner, who took them around, told the cadets that this is one of the outstanding examples of modern restoration. An adventure that doesn't come one's way every day was a bit of rock climbing. Some people travel a long way to see the Highland Games, but this time the Highland Games came to the cadets. The pipers of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders and the Black Watch came over from Perth and brought with them their own team to demonstrate Highland Games. It's nice to have a few prizes to take home, and the Duke of Argyll, the Chief of Clan Campbell, presented them. The coveted Lucas Tooth Shield, the champion battalion of the county, went to the 1st Isle of Ely Battalion. Well, a grand week has come to its close, and everyone wishes it could start all over again. But you can't put the clock back. So tomorrow, it's home to civil life and work.
But there's next year's camp to look forward to.
and we can carry on with our Army Cadet Force training.
These young people have got the right idea. Work hard, play hard. For all of us, there are some tough problems ahead, but that's the way to solve them. Work hard, play hard.